documenting my failures. I cannot allow such transgressions against my
Any
character.
documentation will be documentation of your failures.
Which is why everyone connected to my failures, down to the last man, woman, and squirrel, were destroyed utterly like cows.
And then here's the... That's when the thing's supposed to come in.
Hi, Mac. Mac is here. Someone else is here. Hi, John.
Alright. So, I updated my version of TorqueX to notice to that's not the latest community enhanced version. The latest community enhanced version uses the Farseer physics engine. I didn't want to deal with that yet. It's not done. I didn't know if it would affect anything. But what it did have was an advanced content loading feature. And combined with the asynchronous scene loader, I've constructed a advanced content system for our game, Kobold's Quest. It'll also be in dungeons. Anyways, I can just create these content blocks. So I have a common content, and I add a bunch of folders, which these are common content, and I load it immediately when the game starts. Then I have all content, and I allow loading.
Excellent.
And so what this means is that when we load the level, all this stuff will be preloaded, and we won't have to load it again. And this stuff will be loaded on demand. It also has asynchronous loading, but I don't use that anymore. There's complications. But I did create a game loading class, and it's a special class that I use to load levels. And so I use the asynchronous scene loader. And what I can do is I can add like a content block, which means keep it on this loading screen until all this content is done loading. I can also basically I just call the load level function, and it does the fade. It then unloads the last scene, clears all the input stacks, loads a loading level, which has a loading animation, and then I use the asynchronous scene loader. It puts all the scene loading in a separate thread. And so that will load in the background while our loading screen is playing. And when that's done, it'll let me know, it'll say, we're finished, and say, okay, so now I can finish the loading. I just, I set up the new scene views for the new scene, add a GUI fade screen, and fade out back to our new scene. And then, do all the other stuff. End result is that it will look like this. I disabled the loading screen for our first couple scenes, and so there's no load screen in between the transition here and in between this transition. But we select our kobold now, click the button, loading.
Aww.
Boom, there we go.
Show the full animation.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, no, it will be different for different ones.
It might be different on the Xbox. The Xbox has slower disk access than the PC. And so there we go. Yay! So we got our new content management system in it.
Excellent.
Now I just need to change the way that the kobolds reference, the colors and stuff. I just need to change the way all that works.
And we should get rid of that horrible error.
Yeah, it'll get rid of that error. The nice thing about the new system is that we're not loading duplicate textures in constantly now, which was one of the major problems with Torque.
Yep.
It would actually load duplicate textures. It was very frustrating.
Cool.
And not anymore.
No, we've made progress.
Yep.
I just fucked up.
Okay. Here we go. It's committed. It's loading. Got my controller. Oh, hang on. Got my controller.
It's taking way too long to load, though. That's the thing. It should be loading in the background.
Yes. So what do you want to say to the people what you just done? Or did?
I was trying to get it to load asynchronously in the background, the common assets. So it takes a while to load everything.
And it's supposed to run smooth as a baby's butt.
It was running smooth when I tried it.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, that's a bit long for a loading time.
Yeah.
I put in the.
I didn't know what was going on there.
Cobalt's Quest, eh? Sounds like a good game. It's a good game that people should buy. Yeah. I like the logo we have of the Commander in every video. Dianex, when you can't afford quality. Ooh, do we hit the... Let's see if it jags. It's not jagging.
No, because I turn on the vertical sync.
Sweet. Oh, that looks sexy. Hopefully the game looks just as sexy. Have to join in here. Let's see, I'll be Mr. Blue. Now, I don't quite know how I want to play, considering me. It's going to be very interesting.
Question is, why isn't the loading screen popping up?
Yeah, that's a good question. We actually saw it running on your computer.
Oh, it was running on the Xbox too.
That's weird.
Oh, I know what's going on.
What's going on?
I think so.
John's up.
I moved the little weight code. I might have moved it to the wrong spot. No, it should have loaded the level. Ah, crap. It wouldn't load the loading screen. My bad.
We'll get back to you, Internet. Forgot to turn you guys on. See, our loading screen's working. The Kobold. Yeah, he loves that yarn. He loves that yarn so much. Yeah, so John says right now it's loading absolutely everything in the game, which is going to be
it's not
broken.
loading everything. It's not loading the levels, but it's loading every single enemy, even enemies we don't see until later on in the game. And so it's taking abnormally long. I want to split it up so it only loads, like preloads the required stuff for level 1, and then for later levels it'll preload.
It'll add.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
It'll preload the additional enemies. The whole goal is to get it to preload a bunch of the common assets first before we start the game.
That's a $50 loading screen. Actually, it's about a little bit more than that, but yeah. We might have the greatest Torque game ever made. You see, we have to keep ourselves realistic here. Greatest Torque X 2D game ever made. There we go. I think that's limited enough. I've only seen one other Torque X 2D game on Xbox Live ND, and it was not impressive.
Is that the one that they used the starter kit
Yes.
sprites?
Yes.
There's a little ninja, and it caused you much rage.
Yes, it was terrible.
You calm down, William.
No! No! God damn. They put no effort into that game. None at all. We spent months on this. Hell, Dungeons has been over a year and 9 months. And we're still not done. And that guy probably made more money. Okay. Not really. So there's a lot of Xbox games, indie games, that don't make any money at all, which is really scary.
Gravitron, such poor.
The sales were terrible, and the game is awesome.
I saw a thread on NeoGAF, or an indie thread. I was going to link it to you, but that guy declared it his, the best game of the month for September. Yeah. Gravitron 360.
It's an awesome game, and it sold 300 copies. End of line. That is evidence, people, that there may very well not be a god in the gaming world.
I wonder if this is ever going to work. I'm beginning to think that maybe not.
So you're going to go to your computer, start tweaking things while this thing just continues to run?
Go to my computer. Let's see here. Why won't it work? Fuck! Well, I found out the error. It should be a does not equal to instead of an equal to.
Acting!
Hollywood, here I come.
X and A. You're what Microsoft uses, so we can't port to the PS3. X and A.
Alright. The issue was that the issue is that when we load level 1, we want to wait until all the preloaded content has finished loading. What I did was I checked to make sure if the preloaded content was done. If it wasn't done, then it delayed the load. You know, it went and it waited until all the preloaded content was done. But I said if, basically, by my logic, I said if there is no blocks waiting, then don't load the level. When it should be if there's no blocks, if there's no blocks waiting, load the level. Because that's what the did not equal to ended up doing. Yeah, I'm a moron. And so I just change equals to does not equal and it works.
Okay, let's just skip all this bullshit and select our characters. Mr. Blue. Loading. Yay, Kobold. Okay, that's so far so good. Yes. Can't wait till we have music and this stuff. All I hear is screaming and, oh, I was casting it wrong.
Yeah, it was loading the content properly and correctly. It was just when the callback function that let me know when the loading was finished, I was casting the result wrong, so it was returning null. And so it was being caught because, I add things, when I code I add, I always check things to make sure it's not null or something to avoid null reference errors. And so it's determined it was null and it returned, so it never marked it as finished loading. So the end result was it loaded but didn't properly tell the engine it had finished loading, which meant it got stuck in an endless loop because it was still waiting for it to finish loading. It was all because I casted it wrong. Ugh.
It's almost 5 and I'm tired. Let's get this working.
But it'll work now. I am deploying.
Here we go again. Whoa. It finished. And it's smooth.
So it stays the correct size, but it doesn't say the correct position now.
Oh. Well, I can't play and do this, so we'll have to do this later, the playthrough.